Perfect. We are recording. So, we're doing the Breaststroke Clinic today. First off, I hope everyone is healthy and safe. Thank you for all your support. It truly means a lot to everybody. Now, throughout the clinic, I will be going back and forth, making sure we get everybody in. I'll be going from this page to this page. Just make sure everyone's in here. We've had some troubles with that in the past. Hopefully today we get everybody in here. And if you do get kicked out or someone does get in, we are recording, as I mentioned. So we'll be good to go there. So check right now. We're all good to go. Let's get started. So we're starting off with, why is breaststroke important? Well, first off, everyone's stroke is a little different. Most of the time in free, back, and fly, everyone will basically have a very similar stroke. Breaststroke, it's a one stroke where everyone's pretty different. You could have a heat of 8 people, and they all could have some kind of different stroke. Now, they all have very similar parts of the stroke, but the way they put together could be a little different. So I think it is the most difficult to coach and to swim, just because of that reason. Another reason why it's important is most weak spots in the IM are breaststroke. A lot of really good IMers, their weak spot is breaststroke. So you have an IMer, sorry, if you're a breaststroker, you're going to get recruited for college and probably get switched over to IM as well, because you automatically have a little bit of an advantage. So if you're a breaststroker, you're going to have a pretty good IM. And if you don't have a good breaststroke, work on that so you can have a really good IM. And if you look at it nationally and internationally, breaststroke is probably the USA's weakest stroke. We always talk about how many world records we have or how many Olympic golds we have. Well, for breaststroke, it's kind of the opposite. The U.S. men have no world records in any breaststroke, 100 or 200 or even 50. And the U.S. men have not won gold in the Olympics since 1992 in the 100 and the 200. The U.S. men have not won Olympic gold medals since 2 years before I was born. Think about that. The U.S. women have one world record. That's Lily King in the 100 breast. We did have the 200 breast for a while, but that was broken a couple years ago. Now, the U.S. women have won gold in the 100 in both 2000 and 2016, and they won gold in the 200 from 2004 to 2012. So on an international scale, the women have had more success in the breaststroke. But even compared to the other races like we've been talking about, not as much. So we got to get our breaststroke back into gear on the international level. So before we get into the catechisms, just want to make sure that everyone's in. Got to get Megan in here. Got to get Amy in here. Perfect. We're all good to go. So Megan, Amy, welcome. You're just in time to watch some catechisms. So here we go. We're going to start with number 1. We're going to start flat on the out sweep. Flat on the out sweep. Now this part of the stroke, we'll make sure we are looped here. Perfect. The out sweep is the very first part of the stroke. So as you can see, he's in a nice straight line. And the very first thing he does, he turns his hands outwards so they're facing the sides of the pool, and he presses out. Presses out. His palms go towards the sides of the pool. Really nice job here. And he's nice and flat when he does this. Nice straight line. Presses his hands out. Looks really good. He's nice and flat. He's not moving any part of his body yet, just his hands are moving out. Now, this leads us to we're going to come back to this guy. This comes to our second catechism right away, which is stretch the Y. So we're going to take a look at another video. This is a compilation video. Make sure we're looped. Perfect. And this is probably the number one thing I see that we need to work on in both the groups that I coach and as a team is stretch the Y. So as you can see here, they're all flat on the out sweep, but when they get to that point, they're nice and stretched out. I paused it right there. It's not a glitch in the screen. Nice, stretched out, and look at that nice Y shape. Nice and long. Look at that. Palms are out, facing the sides of the pool. Nice, stretched Y. And it's very similar we talked about with butterfly and freestyle, stretch and snap. Except this time you're not really snapping. You are stretched out with your hands and arms in a nice Y position. So you are stretched out and you are really long. You are in that Y position. A lot of times I see breaststrokers, they're really small. It's more like stretch the I position. You want to be nice and stretched in a nice Y position. So we talked about flat on the outside. Look at that. She's still flat, and she's really stretching out that Y position. Looks really good. So flat on the out sweep, and her Y is nice and stretched. All right. We're going to come make sure everyone's in. Excellent. All right. Now we're talking about our third catechism, which is in sweep like windshield wipers. Now, I hope this position looks pretty similar to you guys. We're going to go back to our nice video here. I'm going to pause it again very shortly. Stretch the Y, and here we go. Not the best pause, but it'll work. I want to get a better one. That's getting better. So we have nice and stretch the Y. It should be paused right now. You stretch that Y. Then you turn your hands inwards. Fingertips point to the bottom of the pool. And you're nice in like a windshield wiper position. Nice windshield wiper position. Elbows are up. Fingertips are pointed towards the bottom of the pool. And you are nice and pointed down. You're about to start grabbing that water. So as you can see, if you're watching this video here, you should be able to see flat on the out sweep, nice and stretched out the Y. And now when he turns his hands in, fingertips point towards the bottom. That's what the windshield wiper should look like. See if I can pause it again. That's a little bit better. So look at this. So he was nice and stretched the Y, started turning his hands. Fingertips are pointed towards the bottom. Elbows are nice and high. We've talked a lot about these on these last couple weeks about having nice high elbows, both in free, breast, and back. Now we're talking about in breaststrokes. You always want to have those nice high elbows, fingertips pointed down. You're feeling the water on your hand, your forearm, even on your bicep a little bit. You can see the water is still right there. You should be able to feel it on your whole arm. So let it play one more time. So the three catechisms you should see here: flat on the out sweep, stretch the Y, and in sweep like windshield wipers. Flat on the out sweep, stretch the Y, in sweep like windshield wipers. So at this point of the stroke, you've gone from pressing out the water, now you're grabbing a hold of it. So your fingertips are pointed down, nice, strong, high elbows. You're looking great. We'll close out this. Make sure everyone's in here. Perfect. And now we're going to go on to our fourth catechism, which is grab and pop the hips. So we're going to take a look at Kosuke Kitajima, probably one of the best breaststrokers ever. We're going to watch some of his races later. There's a couple on here. So what I want you guys to see here, grab and pop the hips. We're going to talk a little bit about this in Coach's Corner too, is that when he is grabbing the water, when he in sweeps like windshield wipers, he is beginning to drive his hips forward. We talked about this in butterfly, driving the hips forward, not down. So you can see, we're going to see it a little bit later, you can see right there, his hips are forward. I took a nice little pause here. His hips are driving forward. His hips are driving forward. They're not going down. They're not staying flat. They're driving forward. Like I said, we're talking a little about this in Coach's Corner more because I think this is really important in breaststroke. You are driving your hips forward. So when you grab that water, you're beginning to pop the hips. You're going to be driving the hips forward. You've grabbed, you've stretched the Y, so you flat on the out sweep, you stretch the Y, you've in sweep like windshield wipers, and as you're doing that, you are driving those hips forward. You are popping the hips. You are grabbing the water and popping the hips. Excuse me. Flat on the out sweep, stretch the Y, windshield wipers, and then as you're grabbing onto that water, you are driving your hips forward. Hope everyone can see that his hips are going forward, not down, and they're not staying flat. Just like we talked about in butterfly, we're driving forward. And then while we're on this video, I'd like to go to the next catechism, which is power squeeze with the arms. So that's kind of what we talked about earlier. We paused on earlier. This is the power squeeze right here. We're nice and tight. Our hands are a little bit in front of our face, and we are nice and squeezed together. If you're in one of my groups, we always talk about swimming through a cone. You know, those orange traffic cones. We talk about swimming through that. You want to squeeze those arms, be nice and tight, and you want to drive straight forward through. You don't want to, I call it the snow plow. You don't want to have your arms really far apart and just plowing through the water. You want to power squeeze the arms, be nice and tight, so then you can drive forward in a later catechism. So here we are. It's nice and paused. We've power squeezed with the arms. You can see his hands are right here. His elbows are into his body. He's ready to go. Now, one thing I also want you guys to notice is look where his elbows are. They're in his body line. A lot of times I see people, they're squeezed with the hands, but their elbows are like chicken wings. They're out really far out in their body. You want to make sure you stay tight. You want to squeeze with your whole arm. Like we talked about earlier with grab on, in sweep like windshield wipers, you want to grab on, you want to feel the water from your hand all the way through your arm. Now you want to squeeze it all together. You don't just want to power squeeze with the hands. It's power squeeze with the arms. So let it run a couple more times. I want you guys to see how he goes from the in sweep like windshield wipers to power squeeze with the arms. Notice how it's his whole arm, not just his hands. Hands stay at or in front of his face. They don't go under his chest or towards his stomach. They're in front of him the whole time. He never gets stuck underneath his chin or under his chest. Squeezes his arms, drives straight through. All right, I'm going to close out this. Make sure everyone's in. Sweet. We're going to go on to number 6, which is coil and strike. Coil and strike. So we're going to go to Daniel Roy. We'll be watching a lot of this. So this is probably my favorite breaststroke catechism video to watch, because it's nice and clear water. It's nice and new. Daniel Roy swims for Stanford. Actually swam for Coach Eric's old team in Seattle. So what coil and strike looks like is like this. So he's coiled up. Think like a snake. Think like a cobra. He's coiled up. His hips are driving forward. Look at that. His hips are nice and forward. His hands, like we talked about with Kitajima's video, his hands are in front of his face or right there. They're not under his chest or at his stomach. He is ready to go. He is coiled. Think like the back of a cobra is his back. You'd see a cobra, the nice, almost shield-like part of their head. That's what his back looks like right now over water. He is ready to go. He is coiled so he can strike. What you guys to look at now is strike. So watch him coil and then watch him attack. Watch him strike. Everything is forward. Nothing's up, nothing's down. Everything is forward. Coil and strike. Does a nice turn. He's coiled. He's driving his hips forward. His hands are power squeezed. And then he drives forward. Watch the video one more time. See if you can spot when he coils and when he strikes. Coil and strike. Drives his hips forward. Power squeeze with the arms. Stays nice and small. It's nice and narrow. And then attacks. Then he strikes. Excellent. We're going to come back to Daniel Roy in a little bit. So the next catechism, make sure. Perfect. So the next catechism we have is number 7. Shoot the hands, skinny lunge. So this, we're going to take a look at Lily King, the world's fastest breaststroker. She has the world record. She went 104.1 long course breaststroke. Has the American record in both the 100 and 200 short course. So what we're talking about here is shoot the hands forward and skinny lunge. Now, we already talked about it briefly, is that swimming through the traffic cone analogy. So if you see it here, she's shooting her hands straight forward. She's not being a snowplow. Her hands aren't wide. It's like we talked about with the power squeeze. Her hands are nice together in front of her face. And she is shooting forward with a nice skinny lunge. She could totally fit through the traffic cone if we were to put it right in front of her. It's another issue I see every once in a while is that we get in this nice power squeeze position and we shoot forward. And as we do that, our hands slowly start to come apart. They start to separate. As you can see, this whole time, her hands are together. She's finishing her stroke with her hands together, and then she's starting her next stroke. She's staying skinny, and she is shooting those hands forward. Nice and together, super skinny. Looks great. We're going to watch it one more time, then move on to the next one. Take a look at how skinny she is and how fast she's moving her hands forward. Remember, this is in slow motion, so she is really moving those hands. Excellent. All right, on to number 8, which is lunge forward into dry back. We're going to go back to our good friend Kitajima. This is now over the water. This one's pretty easy to look for. As he's shooting forward, as he's driving his hands forward, like a nice skinny lunge like we just saw with Lily King, his back is getting dry. I like to think about the analogy of shooting water off your back. You want to get the water off your back. So as you can see here, when he lunges forward, his back is dry. Now when he's fully extended, almost in a streamlined position, then you can see he's under the water. But when he lunges forward, his back is dry. You can see with the Australian right beneath him too. When they are lunging forward, their back is dry. Try to pause it there. That's starting his lunge. Back is nice and dry. It should be paused for you guys. Nice dry back. And then as he's lunging forward, look at that. Nice dry back. I hope you can see this on your screen. This is a very nice example. He's lunged forward. He's completely extended forward, but he still has a nice dry back. Hope you guys can see that. It's a really good shot right there. So when you're lunging forward, gotta have a dry back. We're going to talk a little bit more about this in Coach's Corner about how you can help do this. But when you are lunging forward, gotta have your back out of the water. He's staying nice and skinny. Hands are always in front of him. He has a nice dry back as he lunges forward. Excellent. So we're going to move on to the next one, which is hands moderate, fast, super fast. Number 9, hands moderate, fast, super fast. We're going to go to our good friend Kevin Cordes. Was the American record holder in the 100 and 200 short course. Came out of Illinois, swam at Arizona. So I hope you guys are seeing here as his hands accelerate through the pull. When he's flat on that out sweep, his hands are going moderate. And as he pulls through, he's going faster. And when he shoots his hands forward in his skinny lunge, that's the super fast. So as you're swimming breaststroke with that pull, your hands are accelerating through the pull. You don't want to be going moderate, 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 moderate. Your hands are going to go moderate, fast, super fast. Like we talked about, the moderate is the out sweep. The fast is when you're bringing that water in, you're power squeezing with the arms. And the super fast is like we talked about, shooting the hands forward, a nice skinny lunge. Accelerate the hands through the pull. This is also going to help you get rid of a problem that we talked about earlier with your hands getting stuck under your chin or under your chest. If your hands are doing that, that means you are not accelerating through the pull. That means you're going moderate, 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 or moderate, fast-ish, fast-ish. Accelerate through the pull. Do not let your hands get stuck. Breaststroke is already the most drag-filled stroke, so you don't want to make it even more inefficient. Accelerate your hands through the pull. Excellent. Hopefully you're all seeing that. All right, we're going to come back to Mr. Cordes for our last one. But for our second to last one, which is flare the feet. Oh, make sure everyone's in. Good. Flare the feet. We're going to take a look at Mr. Daniel Roy again. We're going to take a look here. We're already unlooped, which is excellent. Flare the feet means you want to be pointing your feet, your toes, to the sides of the pool. You don't want, just like when we talk about flutter kick, backstroke, and butterfly, you want to keep those feet and ankles nice and loose. For breaststroke, you want to make sure that you are turning those feet outwards to grab the water. Let's see if I can get a good pause here. Perfect. So you can see right here, his feet are pointed out towards the sides of the pool. And one thing I want to really talk about here is the kick. What I want to take a look at here is he's flaring the feet, but look at his knees. Look at his body. He is not driving his knees outward or driving. He's bending at his knees. He's bending at his knees. He's not driving them out. And it looks like he kind of is, but he's really not. It looks like he's driving them straight down, but he is bending at them. He's bending at his knees. He's not driving his knees down or out. He's bending at his knees. He's bending at his knees. His ankles, we'll talk a little bit about this later. Look, he's driving his ankles up. His feet are pointed out. Looks really good. A good trick that I used to learn, or I was told, was you want to try to think about catching the water with your big toe. So turning your toes out, grabbing that water, feeling it on all parts of your foot. You want to feel like you're catching it with that big toe. Catch it with that big toe. Next, I'm going to key this up because this is a great example of what I want to talk about later. Let's go back to our last catechism with Mr. Cordes, which is snap the kick. Snap the kick. So I want you guys looking at here is a couple things. First off, you can see him really flare the feet. Does a really nice job of turning his feet out towards the side of the pool. Drives his ankles towards his butt. And he does a great job of kicking backwards, kicking straight behind him. A lot of times you'll see breaststrokers, they'll do what they were taught when they were younger, which is the old up, out, and around. I was taught it too. You want to bring your feet up. You want to go out and around. It's not what you want. You want a narrow kick. Ankles to your butt, kick straight back. You can see another example of here, like we talked about with Daniel Roy. He's not driving his knees down or out. He is simply bending at them, bringing his heels to his butt, turning his toes out, and then snapping the kick straight back. He is snapping the kick straight back. And if you want a little extra pointer, when he finishes his kick, his toes are nice and pointed. His toes are pointed after that. So if they were flexed, like we talked about flare the feet, he'd be dragging a bunch of water behind him. Snap the feet together. Remember, it's backwards, not around. Snap the kick backwards, not around. A good test for this, or a good something to work on, would be getting a pull boy, putting it between your thighs, and working on kicking it straight back. I don't know if Ari's in here, but she can attest to how much fun that is. It's a lot of fun. So notice he's kicking it straight back. He's not going around, straight back. Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Cordes. So, make sure everyone's in. Excellent. So, those were our catechisms. We had flat on the out sweep, stretch the Y, in sweep like windshield wipers, grab and pop the hips. Remember, that's where you're driving your hips forward. Power squeeze the arms, not just the hands. Coil and strike. Shoot the hands into a skinny lunge. Lunge forward into a dry back. Accelerate the hands. Hands moderate fast, super fast. Flare the feet. And snap the kick. So those are our catechisms. Very good ones. So since I feel like breaststroke is so different, and it's one of the ones that we could improve the most on, I really wanted to spend a little more time talking about technique, kind of going a little bit further into the catechisms. So we're going to start Coach's Corner here with a great little photo here. When you are doing breaststroke, it's very important to think about rolling your shoulders. So when you are lunging forward, you want to think about rolling the shoulders over your ears. This is going to help you stay skinny and keep those hands together. And think about lunging forward. So nice, you can see this picture. He is lunging forward, and his shoulders are driving up towards his ears. It's going to help him stay over the water and not flat. If you don't roll your shoulders, you're going to be under the water. You want to drive straight forward. Like we talked about with the hips. Everything is forward in breaststroke. It may look like things are going up and down, but it's more about forward, which we'll get to in a little bit. So when you are lunging forward, think about rolling the shoulders over your ears. Here we go. Come on now. Boom. All right. We talked about lunging forward into a dry back and ways that could help you. One of the things that I learned was imagine that there's a little target on your forearms. So you look at your forearms right now, about in between your hand, the base of your hand, of your palm, and your elbow. I want you to imagine a little target there. That is where you should be throwing your head to. As you're lunging forward, that is the point where you're trying to get your head. You don't want to place your head. You want to throw your head. Don't place your head. You want to throw your head. Now, there's no way you could throw your head to where that target is because you would lose your head. But that's what you want to think about. You want to think about throwing your head to where that target is on your forearms. Don't place your head. Throw your head. That's going to help you get a nice dry back. As you see Brendan Hansen right here, he has a nice dry back, and he's throwing his head forward. Throws his head forward. Doesn't place his head. It's going to help you pop the hips, get them up high, help you drive forward a nice dry back. Target on your forearms. Think about that. Now, we're going to watch a little video here. I'm going to put this in the chat. I'm going to put this in the chat. Try what we did on Friday. So you guys can watch along. So this is Adam Peaty. He's the fastest man ever in breaststroke. I see you, Ari. Yeah, it is fun. So if you would like to follow along, you can watch the video that's in the chat. Or else if you would like to watch it on my screen, you're more than welcome to. So I want you to look at here's a couple things. We'll use this video for a couple of ideas here. So I want you to think about breaststroke as a two-streamline engine. You're going to pull your lower body, that's in streamline, and then you're going to kick your upper body, which is in streamline. Now we noticed this on a little bit with some of the Daniel Roy videos. We're going to watch it a little bit here, is that when he is pulling, when he is instantly like windshield wipers, when he's power squeezing with the arms, his legs are nice and straight. They're not apart. They're not bending. They're straight. And then he drives his hands forward. And as he is in his streamline with his upper body, that's when he kicks. Pull with your upper body when your lower body is in streamline. Then kick your streamlined upper body. Now, if you would like to turn back to my screen very quickly, this is like what we tried. This is why I wanted to keep the Daniel Roy video. As you can see here, he is pulled already, and look at his nice streamlined upper body. He's going to kick that forward now. So if you're looking at my screen, Daniel Roy, nice streamlined upper body, and he's kicking his streamlined upper body forward. So it is a two-streamline engine. He pulls, his lower body is in streamline. He kicks his upper body in streamline. A lot of the times, this is due to our timing, a lot of times people will try to rush it. When I say in breaststroke have a faster tempo, they'll think just move their body parts faster. No. Imagine having your hands underneath your chin and your knees forward at the same time. You would not move. You would come to a dead stop. So it's very important for you to get this timing down of pull in the lower body that's in streamline, and then kicking your upper body in streamline. So you can get rid of Mr. Daniel Roy. Hope you guys are seeing this on both Daniel Roy's little still frame and what Adam Peaty is doing right here. He pulls his lower body, which is in streamline, and then he kicks his upper body, which is in streamline. Now, while we're here, I also want to talk about the next thing in Coach's Corner, which is our pullouts. We worked a lot on our pullouts this year, and we can still work on them a lot. So hopefully as you're watching this, you want to think about getting your body to where your hands are on your pullout. So you dive in, you're nice and good streamline. You're going to anchor onto that water. You're anchored on. And you're going to try to get your body to where your hands are. You're going to pull your body forward. It's really strong. A lot of times I'll see people just kind of go through the motions and they'll just bring their hands to their side. You want to try to get your body to where your hands just were. Throw your body forward. As you do this, you can see Adam Peaty doing this on his pull downs if you're watching. You want to shrug your shoulders. Stay nice and narrow, nice and tight. So you've pulled your body to where your hands are. Your hands are at your side now. And you shrug your shoulders. Then as you can see, Adam Peaty just did if you're watching my screen. When it's time to bring your hands up back into streamline to get ready for your first stroke, you need to cross your hands. Now, why cross your hands? Because if you just bring your hands up the side that they're on, so if your right arm, right hand goes up your right side of your body, and your left goes up your left side, you are naturally going to go outside of your body line. You're going to get outside of it. You're going to create drag. You're not going to stay narrow, which is our next point. By crossing your hands, right goes towards left shoulder, left goes towards right shoulder, you are staying in your body line, and you're going to stay very tight. You're going to stay narrow. Like we talked about, fitting through a traffic cone. Pull your body to where your hands are. Shrug your shoulders. Cross your hands across your body so you can stay nice and narrow. And then finish so you're going to be ready to go and streamline. The key part here is staying narrow. You want to be as narrow as possible. Like we talked about, breaststroke's already the most inefficient stroke there is. So the more we can do to reduce drag, the better off we'll be. And that starts with better way to start with that by on your pull down, staying narrow. Crossing those hands, shrugging those shoulders. Great. All right. I have a couple more videos I want to share with you guys on our next Coach's Corner bit. Make sure everyone's awesome. So here are our next videos. We're going to have two. I'm going to put one in. First one here is a breaststroker by the name of Sierra Smith. Sierra Smith, she swims in Canada. Why can't I try this again? Boom. Excellent. So we are going to talk about hips and our head. The two most important things in breaststroke. Now, remember, if you'd like to watch this video on loop, just right-click it, and you can watch it on loop. So I want you to notice here, this is very important. Very important. Her head does not move. We're watching lane 4 right in the middle. White cap. Lane 4. Someone's mic is not muted. Please mute it. Her head does not move at all. Probably one of the biggest things I see in breaststroke is that people use their neck to breathe, and it destroys their body line. What actually causes the breathing motion is what we talked about earlier of driving the hips forward. So when you drive your hips forward, that's the motion that's going to get your upper body out of the water, and it's going to let you breathe. Like we talked about, Sierra Smith, lane 4, right in the middle. She is not moving her head. Her eyes are looking down. She's not breaking her line. She's not lifting up at her neck. She is driving forward with her hips and keeping her body nice and light, and that's what's causing her to breathe. She is not lifting her neck. I cannot stress that enough. Her head is not moving. It's her hips driving forward that's causing her to breathe. That's that upward motion. So if you are one of the people who has trouble breathing in breaststroke and you have to lift your neck up to breathe, that means you are not driving your hips up enough. You're not driving them up well enough. You want to think about driving your hips towards your hands. So when you're in that power squeeze position, that's when you want to start driving those hips up. So if you're watching the video, you can, if you're underwater right, and she's underwater right now, she does a great job. When her hands are power squeezed, she's beginning to drive up with those hips. If you're watching my screen, there's a great shot of it underwater. That her head is not moving. She's not bending at her neck. The girl next to her is. And it's causing just a little bit of hitch in her stroke. Eyes are looking down. They don't have to be, no, you don't want to bend your neck all the way down so you're looking straight at the bottom. You want to keep a nice long neck. So you're watching my screen. We're going to start the race over. Her hips are nice and high. She's bending. Sorry, not bending. She's driving her hips forward. Her head is nice and still. She is driving forward. It's looking great. Now, I'm going to put another video in the chat. This is 2012. This is the Olympic trials. We're going to watch lane 6. We're going to watch lane 6. So it's in the chat if you'd like to watch it. Follow along with us. We're going to watch lane 6, Scott Welts. What I want you to look at is the very idea we just talked about. He's black cap, lane 6, 3 from the bottom. I want you to look at how high his hips are on his breaststroke. He's lunging forward, and look at how high his hips are. It's almost like a little dolphin motion, like in butterfly. So we talk about lane 6 right here, black cap. He's right above a yellow cap towards the bottom. But just look at his hips. They are nice and high. Everyone in this field, no one is bending their necks. They're nice and long. But really look at that. He's pretty far back right now. We're going to watch as the race goes on. We're going to watch his hips. I think the best shot is on his last 50. I want you guys to watch that last 50. You can see above the water, his suit's almost coming out of the water on every stroke. It's like we talked about. Drive the hips towards your hands. Lunge forward into a dry back, into a nice streamlined-ish position. So it's a good example of race strategy too. He turned what, like 6th at the 100? And here he goes. Nice and high hips. Nice dry back, lunging forward. So this is the last part of a 200 breast long course. This is a very hard race to do long course. But look at where his hips are. This is the last 50 of the 200 breast. Rowdy Gaines just circled him. Look how high his hips are. This is the last part of a race. And look how high his hips are. They're right at the surface. And look at everyone else is sinking. Everyone else. If you look at lane 4's hips, they're completely under the water. Lane 5's hips under the water. 3 is definitely under the water. And look how high his hips are right there. Look at that. He made the Olympic team. It was awesome. So that's what, like we talked about, our hip position. We have to stay high in the water. Got to stay high in the water. Drive your hips forward. That's going to allow you to breathe. Keep your head nice and long. Don't let you bend at the neck. Keep driving forward. Do not let the hips go away. So if you'd like to come back to here now, I have a couple more. We're going to watch a couple more videos. I didn't put together any trivia today because I thought this would be a little bit longer one because of all the coaches' corner. And like I said, I feel like breaststroke is the stroke we got to work on the most. So I want to talk a little bit more about the technique. So we're going to watch a couple of race videos here. The first we're going to watch is from 2004 Olympics. Like we talked about him earlier, Kosuke Kitajima. We're going to talk about just how long his breaststroke is and how great of a race strategy it is. So if you'd like to follow along, the video is in the chat. Race starts at about the 4 minute mark. Not even there, about like 5. Here we go. So it starts about 7 minutes and 42 seconds if you're watching my screen. Race starts about 7:42. This is at the Olympics 2004. He had just won the 100 breast gold medal. He's going to be in lane 3, so he's 3rd from the top. He's going to be the one that's going to be winning very soon. This is a 200 breast, but I just want you to take a look at how long he is. He's getting the most out of every stroke. He probably has the most beautiful breaststroke like in the history of breaststroke. It's just perfect. People have gone faster than him, but his breaststroke is just amazing. Take a look at, see how he's not bending his neck? If you were watching my screen, they just went into a turn. You got a great shot of them not bending their necks as they went into a turn. He's not lifting his neck up. He's driving his hips forward, and he's nice and long. He's getting the most out of his kick. And a nice overhead shot, so you can see how dry his back is. But he is just getting the most out of every stroke. He's kicking straight back. He's not going up, out, and around like we talked about earlier. He's attacking his walls. Just nice and long the whole time. And when it's time to make a move, he'll pick up his tempo a little bit. But he is just driving forward. You can see it if you're watching the underwater. You can see his hips drive forward. Everything we're gonna talk about this later. We watch Adam Peaty, but the thing he does really well is get the most out of every stroke. And when he increases his tempo, he's not gonna sacrifice his length. He's not just gonna spin his wheels. When it's time for him to make a move and to hunt and kill, like he's doing right now, if you're watching my screen, he still has great length. He's still stretching and he's still driving forward. He's not just gonna spin his wheels. He's gonna increase his tempo, but he probably still has the longest strokes out of everybody in the field. New Olympic record. 2008, he would go on to set the world record, but that video is very chopped up. It only shows a couple of seconds of the race, which is very annoying. But like we talked about, he's driving forward. He's nice and long, getting the most out of every part of his kick. And then when it's time to pick up his tempo, he's picking up his tempo without sacrificing his length. So let's watch a couple more. Let's watch the world record 100 breast. I'm going to put the video in the chat in a second. Race starts at about 30 seconds. So if you'd like to follow along, YouTube videos in the chat. So Adam Peaty is the world's fastest man in breaststroke. This is the race. He went 56.88 in the 100 breast. He's the only man to go under 57 seconds in the 100 breast. And he is also the only man to go under 58 seconds in the 100 breast. So he's the only man in the history of the world to have gone under 58 seconds, and he's already under 57. So if you're watching along, what I hope you're seeing here is that like we talked about Kitajima. He has a very high tempo. He is a very high tempo. He's a very narrow kick, and it helps him get his tempo up really high. But he is not sacrificing his length. I bet he's taking the most strokes, but the best strokes out of everyone in the field. He is not sacrificing his length just to take strokes. He's driving forward, and he is stretching and snapping. 56.88, new world record, which is just incredible. Like I said, the only man ever under 58 seconds, and he's already under 57. So if you're watching, he has a very high tempo, but he's also very long. He does not sacrifice his length for his tempo. And last race I want to show you guys is from this past summer. It's an example of two very different race strategies that can be both very effective. So this is from 2019 Nationals. We're going to put this in the chat. If you guys would like to follow along, the video is now in the chat. This is the 200 breaststroke. So this is Roy, our boy Daniel Roy from our catechisms. And this is Reese Whitley from California. The race starts at about the 2-minute mark. If you'd like to follow on there, feel free. So they're two very different swimmers. I'm going to pause right there, let you guys catch up for a little bit. Reese Whitley is the California cap. He's yellow. He's 6 feet 9 inches tall. 6'9". That's about as tall as LeBron James, you guys wondering. 6 feet 9. Daniel Roy is about my height. He's about 5'9", 5'10". So Reese Whitley has almost a foot over Daniel Roy. Now they swim breaststroke very different. So I started the video if you're watching my screen. They're right in the middle of the pool. yellow cap and black cap. If you miss Reese Whitley, who's 6'9", then you might be a little blind. But we want to watch here is how long Reese Whitley is on his stroke and how Daniel Roy is a little more of a tempo breaststroker. So Daniel Roy, he's very much taking more strokes. He's not sacrificing his length, but he has to take more strokes. Reese Whitley is 6'9", so he can't really turn over as much. He has to get as much as he can out of his kick. And this is like we talked about earlier with breaststroke being so different. Every breaststroker is a little bit different. You're going to watch this entire field. This is our nationals this past summer. Everyone's breaststroke is a little bit different. That's what makes breaststroke so much of a challenge. But everyone has these key concepts, these catechisms that we talked about. Look at that. You can see them lunging forward to a dry back. You can see them kicking straight behind them, not going out their knees. And if you're at the halfway point of the race, Daniel Roy has the lead. He had to take more strokes. But Reese Whitley is getting the most out of all of his stroke. He has great pull downs, and he is really long with his stroke. Now, neither one here is wrong. They're doing what's best for them. They're both going very fast, too, so that's also cannot complain. But there's very, very, very many different types of brushstrokes. Your job when you're swimming is to find out which one best suits you. Are you more like Daniel Roy, where you take more strokes? Or are you like Reese Whitley, where you have to rely a little bit more on your glide, your kick, and your motion? If you're towards the end of the race like I am, Reese Whitley's picked up his tempo. Roy's done a nice job of keeping his tempo consistent. And they're charging. This is a great race right here. This is a great example of how two very different strokes can be successful. Does not matter on your body size, but it's up to you to find the stroke that fits you. Excuse me. So Reese Whitley went 209.6. First time under 210. It was a great race, great celebration. Two really good swims. Real good swims. Excellent. So I'm closing out of that. So we've talked about a lot here. We've talked about why breaststroke's important, the catechisms, the coach's corner, how to roll your shoulders, the target on your forehead, how it's a two-streamline engine. We talked about our pullouts and how important our hips and head position are in breaststroke. So when it's time to get back in the water, and that time is coming, let's really work on these things in our breaststroke. Let's really work on them. I think it's our weakest stroke. I think it's one of my weak strokes as a coach to coach because it's so different. Let's keep getting better together. Now, before you all start leaving, a couple quick announcements. Let's see if I can get it here. Here we go. So, there's an article on SwimSwam. It's also going out in the newsletter. If you have NBC Sports, they are doing a replay of the Olympics these next couple weeks, these next 2 weeks. There's going to be a lot of swimming on TV. So if you'd like to watch some swimming on TV, I just put the link in the chat. Like I said, it's also going to be in the newsletter. If you want to watch some swimming on TV, set your recording, set your DVR up. I already did. So if you'd like to watch some swimming on TV, feel free. And last announcement, before Friday, please pick some races to help analyze. We did for our first race analysis on Friday. I sent out the sheet again this morning. Please pick some races to analyze. It's going to be a lot more fun if you guys are the one picking the races, not just me. It's going to be a lot of fun. So please make sure you are picking some races. With that, everybody, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you guys soon. Hope you enjoyed the breaststroke. We'll see. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep watching those hands, and we'll see you guys soon.